The Wu-Tang Clan is not only the greatest rap crew of all time, but they're also one of the best musical groups of any genre. And I've decided to rank my 100 favorite Wu-Tang albums. My list will contain both group and solo studio albums by the 10 official members. This also includes side projects that have at least one of the 10 members as lyricists in that group. But there will be no Wu affiliate albums, as that would be an entirely different list. Same for compilations, mixtapes, and soundtracks. I'm also leaving out albums that are shorter than 25 minutes long, and I'm excluding anything released prior to 36 Chambers, as well as everything that was released after its 30th anniversary. Finally, there's no Once Upon a Time in Shaolin because I haven't heard that yet. Alright, it's time to bring the ruckus. I've ranked my top 100 Wu-Tang albums. Number 100.
The S.I. way, that's the do or die way. All my homies too real, coke and blue steel. No, let's make a deal. My man and my girlfriend squill. They set me up, but you know that I peel.
Man, deciding on number 100 was more difficult than choosing my top 10. But somebody had to be in this spot, and Cappadonna's Ear Candy doesn't include either vocals or production by any of the original members of the clan, so that was already a big strike. There are plenty of good songs, just not many great ones, and that's something that makes a fairly long album drag. I still love Cap though.
Kill devils if you're not tennis. Extraordinary heritage bars to Mike Kimmons. Yeah, like a Ku-Klux-Klan or white supremacist.
Number 99.
Staten Africanism, devils laughing can get some. Stab my enemies, then I hug them like I miss them.
Look, Cap dropped 7 albums in the span of 3 years. That's almost 100 songs. They can't all be bangers. Plus, he has 18 spots in my top 100, with more solo albums than any other clan member. So the odds were stacked that someone so prolific would end up with more albums at the bottom of the list too. Regardless, his grind is undeniable, and you gotta respect that hustle.
But I'm the one that she wanna be alone with. All night long, always on the phone with. I'm the kid that she getting in the zone with. I take her out of space, take her on a long trip.
Number 98.
It's been a long time since I dropped the pillars. A lot of people didn't understand Dawn the Village. Then I dropped Science, and they heard the name Kappa. They was looking at me like I'm an ordinary rapper.
Even though I have some of Cap's newest releases monopolizing the bottom spots, if you collect the best tracks from these into a single album, then you end up with a true banger that would rank much higher. So he's putting out good music. It's just diluted a bit by being spread out over multiple albums. I'm still grateful to have the tracks though. Plus, Cap's gotta eat, so no hate for him doing what he needs to.
I'm a hip-hop waterhead, you Nantucket. My slang is editorial, dude, you gotta love it. Never caught in these tricks because I rise above it. Never caught in these tricks because I rise above it.
Number 97.
They gon' get this work.
Baby.
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 In 2020, when the world shut down due to a global pandemic, no clan member released a single album, except for Cap. And he dropped 2 on us. And then he made it 3 in a row with Black Tarrzann, the first Wu album of 2021. It's a bit of a concept album, and the cover art is amazing. I don't care what anyone else says.
1 girl, 2 girl, 3 girl, 4, 5 girls, 6 girls, 7 girls more. Promise I'll pull out if you let me hit it raw.
Number 96. The Yin and the Yang was the first Wu-Tang album without any RZA beats or production. And it shows. Definitely my least favorite release from the first decade of the Wu, but at least we got 1 track produced by Deck, 1 chorus from Ghostface, and the best track on the album is a high-energy collaboration with Raekwon. Still, it's worth revisiting the Yin and the Yang every now and then.
The Wu got knowledge, represent 5%, 100%. Pay attention to the stretch Lincoln, drinking Avion, Dawn, stay calm under pressure.
Number 95.
Party people, welcome to the gathering. Many of you tonight have traveled for many miles to hear the master of the art display styles and techniques. Now with this piece of steel that I hold so firmly,
I really like this album's laid-back soul sound, and it definitely complements Masta Killa's chill flow. Plus, it's always nice to hear Old Dirty's voice, even when it's just for a brief moment. I just wish the skits were replaced by more songs. I think that would have helped to keep the vibe going a bit better.
My Killer Cali gangsters arrive for me. Got brothers in the Bay that'll die for me. Got the best weed smoke, choke, no seeds. Mexican Crip blood, we on one seed.
Number 94.
I got this pain buried deep that I'm trying to escape from. It's something inside of me, I need a beat and a great drum. Trials and tribulations be wearing me down. Plus family that I love, they be tearing me down.
The thing about the clan's diverse personalities and styles is that we all have our different favorites, and for various reasons. Cappadonna just so happens to be the one that I personally connected with the least. It doesn't mean I don't like him or that there's not great songs on the pilgrimage, it just helps partly to explain his spots on my list.
Cuban Link Kings was at a party at Queens. Reebok Exofit, Carl Canai jeans. No gat, just laying in the crack. Way in the corners where the players was at.
Number 93.
I'm still debating whether I should build or destroy while the earth keep on shaking. I'ma keep on making. Hit after hit, we coming out of the basement. There's no replacement from a slew of great men.
One big positive about Hook Off is its inclusion of women rappers, especially Wonder Woman, on 3 different tracks. It has by far the most female verses of any Wu-Tang album on my list, and it's not even close. One negative is that the audio levels between some tracks is inconsistent. Nothing major, but still noticeable enough to drop Hook Off down a few spots.
You don't have to be at the studio just to let the verse out. The spiritual love in your heart, just let it burst out. Spiritual love, let the mosque and the church out. It's the feeling that you get when you grow up on the right route.
Number 92.
Pillage up your village, contaminate your water with blood like oil spillage. We got white boy privileges, Einstein cranium, experimenting with germanium. The Wu slang inspired hip-hop brains like Kane in them.
RZA dropped 3 short Bobby Digital albums in 2022, with Digital Potions being the 3rd one released and his lowest spot on my list. The main thing that keeps all 3 from ranking higher is how short each one is, clocking in at less than 30 minutes each. Now, if you combine all 3 of those into a single album, then that resulting Bobby Digital album may have made my top 20.
Clients bought the clearance, and after his physical disappearance, ruler Zigzag Ziggle made his physical appearance.
Number 91.
Yo, it hurts so much and the pain won't go away. I'm lost in the world, it's like I'm a stowaway. I've been in the jungle most of my life. Other places that I lived was hard and tight.
Show Me the Money is pretty solid from start to finish. It's just a little short, clocking in at only 33 minutes. Also, there's only a few standout bangers among the 9 tracks, but this is also the second of 3 different albums that Cap released in less than a 1-year span, so it's not like he wasn't putting out some good work during this time.
Only be around who I went to school with. None of my homies ain't nothing to fool with. Get that bag first, then we add verse. Add search, your breath stink, you better add search. Addy Mac turf, let the ladies twerk.
Number 90.
While I'm up in the studio, playing the phone, I put hits on your fan door, now you're alone. So why you just not popular yet? I grab my tech and run around the blocks and demand respect.
In my list, you'll often hear me say that an album would rank higher if it wasn't so short. But one good thing about those is that you're left wanting more, which is better than running too long with lesser songs. And that's what happens with The Struggle. There's some really good, heartfelt tracks, but also a few not so great ones, including what could be the worst Wu-Tang song from any album. Try to guess which one.
Staten Island, rip you and your mans up, hands up, yeah kid, it's the real. Roughnecks on this side, cats making the deal, coke in the bill, weapons appeal.
Number 89.
It be the Wu-Gang, be no blurry, don't stop. You the ice cream, I'm the cherry on top. Scary a cop, cause I carry the Glock. Look up in my eye, boy, there be the pop.
One thing that I've always loved about hip-hop, and especially the Wu-Tang Clan, is how those who achieve success then try to open the door for others to follow by giving them an opportunity to shine. There's Old Dirty's Brooklyn Zoo, Ghostface Killah's Theodore Unit, Raekwon's Icewater Inc., and here we have UGodz with his Hillside Scramblers. So it's cool to hear those other voices, but I would have just rather heard more UGodz instead.
I got a death wish, My playlist is reckless, almost famous, but the natives getting restless, leaving breathless. Guess who popped up with potluck? Hear you talking like who's washed up.
Number 88.
Grab start like Dr. Octopus, cause war like the grandson of Kush. I'm hanging devil's heads on an evergreen bush.
The Gravediggaz have the biggest drop in position between back-to-back albums on my list. Now that's not to say the pick is bad, cause it's not, especially the first half. But compared to how groundbreaking and excellent 6 Feet Deep was, this follow-up just falls far short. I'm a big fan of RZA, but I greatly prefer Prince Paul's 94 production over where RZA was musically as a producer in 97 for this album. In fact, my favorite track, Unexplained, doesn't have any RZA vocals or production.
Become awake and chop the heads of these snakes. It's better off than dying in a pit full of snakes. The snake inside yourself, that be the first head you take. It's better off than dying in a pit full of snakes.
Number 87.
The streets is ours, we beating the odds. Roll out, eating the cars, we deep in the garage. Put beef in the bras, we're skeeting the bras. Me and my man, yo, we just cheating the laws.
One of the standout tracks features an opening verse by Raekwon and a beat that samples the eerie score from the classic horror movie Suspiria. That one song makes slang prostitution worth checking out, and it's not even the best track on the album. Instead, that distinction goes to Somebody's Got to Go, a smooth, jazzy joint that perfectly matches Cap's flow.
I came up from a tough time, now I'm finally back. I got love in my heart and I changed my rap. I don't worry about dudes talk behind my back, because I'm good with the music and I love the track.
Number 86.
I'm down for the get down, earning my stripes. Hillside, real guys, burn burners for life. Put slugs through your vest or blood on my knife. Blew them up in here, where that go the dice.
UGodz got such a raw deal with so many bad breaks in life. From being locked up during much of the 36 Chambers recordings, to his son being hit by a stray bullet while Golden Arms was away on tour. He's overcome setbacks and tragedies, and is maybe the most underrated member of the Wu. His album, Mr. Excitement, has tons of energy. It's just a shame that nobody else from the clan makes an appearance.
Pledge allegiance to my conquest, prepare for the bomb fest. Right and the left connect like twin jumbo jet. I can feel the blood bubbling under your flesh. I'm coming down here rolling in my snowball effect.
Number 85.
I'm on the ground floor hustling, but I'ma still score. I don't care what y'all say, cause I'm ready for more. Yo, these streets got my head like never before. That's why my man Big Gator gotta carry the 4.
Every time I listen to the Cappadonna project, it starts good, but then falls off a bit after the first few tracks, and I start to wonder why I like it. Then Dream begins to play, and it's almost like a mild psychedelic kicks in that carries me through the much better second half. As a side note, the Cappadonna project was also the first time I heard one of the Wu take shots in their verses against other members of the clan.
Tell me this is a dream of receiving awards for the best album of the year, and oh yeah, for still having the best broads.
Number 84.
I could take a raindrop, turn it to an icicle. Pull off in that blue Escalade, you still rocking tricycles. Michael Myers mask on my face, copper filtered in 95 edition bar. I'm a virus killer.
The first of 3 different releases by RZA in 2022, and since it also was the first Bobby Digital album in 14 years, I was majorly hyped for this one. Unfortunately, it ended up being only 7 tracks with a short runtime of 26 minutes, but thankfully those minutes are solid, and there are a few standout bangers such as Kaiju and its slick sample of Mothra's song.
On the wings of a phoenix, we flying to a tropic island where there's food, holding shelter, no violence, and practice Tai Chi styles like Wu-Tang and Shaolin.
Number 83.
Who would've thought I would've made it, y'all? 10 years later, still in the get in. The clan, we was one of the greatest. We did platinum back in 93. We painted pictures you can see. We was living who y'all trying to be.
The biggest thing keeping Lex Diamond from ranking much higher are the skits. They're definitely not as good as those in Cuban Links, and that's made worse by their extended length. But Ray is a master storyteller, and he tells them best through verses, especially in the first half. Plus, he deserves props for trying to build up Ice Water Inc. and putting them on. I just rather would have heard a little more of him and Ghost going back and forth.
Corner field chains and Gucci glasses. That was the era when we flipped all of the bought a store, splashed it. Had Dominicans running and eating steak and cheese sandwiches. They in the back bragging with fifths, yo.
Number 82.
Yo, I'm skinned up, nice and scuffed. Still bugging earlier, around 4 high, escaped the bus. The way I fell, cracked the face of my watch. My man's chanting me on like, run son, don't go up in the spot.
Before anyone loses their mind at how low I have the Big Doe Rehab, just know that Ghostface pretty much dominates my entire list. Plus, there had to be one lowest ranked Ghostface album, right? And this just happens to be the one for me, and barely. Part of the reason is because of how much I loved the previous year's Fish Scale, so there was a little bit of a letdown here despite the many great tracks on this album.
It's Ghost, pressing y'all clowns on the regular. Dead you on a 5-pack, then take your cellular. Don't get it twisted, black, cause I bury ya. This is just weed money, the more the merrier.
Superman lover.
Number 81.
A rhyme is a struggle from conception. Series of complex maps in all directions. Totally dependent on an act of breathing. Learning depending on an act of reading.
The Saga Continues was a nice surprise because I did not have high expectations, yet it delivered some bangers. It was also great hearing new verses from affiliates like Redman, Killah Priest, and Street Life. But there's no UGod, and like producer Mathematics said, it can't be a complete Wu-Tang Clan album without UG. Yui's absence is why the album artists are named just Wu-Tang and not Wu-Tang Clan, and it's also the main reason why this album doesn't rank higher on my list.
I'm a product of the block. We used to cook the product in the pot, add soda, turn the product into rock.
Number 80.
Devils don't know, get their head severed. My whole team is guard, did you get the message? Muslim security set by every exit. Calculate the world, everything is measured.
The excellent production by Stu Bangas does a lot of the heavy lifting to raise third chamber grail bars to this high of a position. The short runtime is part of what kept it low on my list, but there are still some nice verses by a mature Cappadonna, as well as from guest lyricists such as Planet Asia, Ill Bill, and especially Self-Titled.
If you liking how it sound, then it's kosher for me. Nah, I'm not the type to just loke on the beat. I like to twist something up, put smoke on the beat. I put my lyrics in your head, put hope on the street.
Number 79.
I'm okay, babe, how you? I'm alright, just that the baby's kicking. I want some Popeye chicken, and my back kinda hurt from the way I was sitting. Hurry home so you can rub my big belly and kiss it.
The Emerald City has more of an R&B flavor, but don't think that Ghost is going soft. He still brings it rugged and raw. And there's still some more traditional Tony Starks, such as with Guest House. But regardless of the genre and style, there's consistently superb lyrics as always. Unfortunately, the lack of appearance by any other member of the clan brings it down just a bit.
In the crib on this rainy day, I'm chillin'. Glass pianos and Portuguese drapes hang from the ceiling. Persian rugs, Moroccan sofas. I walk through the house in paisley robes and Ferragamo loafers.
Number 78.
Feds hit the mansion last week on some King Kong. Sats tapping on the door like it was ping pong. Shells hit the doorbell, it went ding dong.
The newest entry on my list, as it was the most recent album released prior to the 30th anniversary of 36 Chambers. So I admit there's probably some recency bias going on, but Cap keeps showing flares of brilliance, which means his greatest work could still be yet to come. Fittingly, the best track on this album, Yasuke, comes at the very end, and it's one that I can listen to over and over again on repeat.
Wu-Tang Clan is the sword new edition.
Swarming unpredictably, we spread terror.
Killer be swarming, protect your neck. There's no escaping once my blade starts scraping.
Number 77.
Magnificent, high score, master plan, the crowd roar. Throw up daily doses, get ready for the downpour. Cumin cannonball, matador standing at the door. Battle your sound more, get ready for the round 4.
Dopium is a solid album, nice beats, great verses by UGod and the many guest vocalists, which do include half of the clan showing up. But one thing to know, even though there are 16 tracks, 5 of them are just remixes of other songs on the album. So it's cool to get alternative versions of some of the bangers. Problem is, the style of these remixes really aren't my cup of tea. And they also don't fit that well with the rest of the album.
Back, retire mics, take rap to higher heights. Big back, green rap, blow it up, dynamite. Sniff my China white. Touchdown with King Cobras. All my life, pay the price. Nickname me Steamroller.
Number 76.
Hip hop icon, my name Cappadonna. Give me a minute, y'all, so I can put my Nikes on, put my ice on, get my nights on. I get back at y'all before they put the lights on.
This is an eclectic one that's hard to pin down, at least for me, but I mean that as a compliment. Sometimes tracks on an album can be so different from each other that song changes are abrasive and they take away from the overall feel. Thankfully, that doesn't happen with the Pillage 2. Yet, there's still a surprising variety of sounds and styles to show off Cap's range. And this is also helped in part by the different guest vocalists who step up when given the opportunity to shine.
I love the music cause it kill all the stressfulness. Now I feel blessed, I ain't better than the rest, but I crush more stage than you crushed on steps. And oh yeah, protect your neck.
Number 75.
Impeccable, I'm more than intellectual. God throwing dawn that is stir frying vegetable. Tone channel or murk your grandma. For them dead presidents, you should never bite the hand, Paul.
I'm grateful to have these tracks, I just wish there were more verses from Ghost. If you take out the intro, outro, and the 2 interludes, then you're left with only 8 songs, and each of these have at least 2 featured guest vocalists, so we don't really hear that much from GFK. But still, it's cool to have things like Ghostface and Big Daddy Kane appearing on the same track. That right there is a legendary team-up of real ones. Regardless, the best song is Watch 'Em Holla, an early Wu-sounding collab with Ray, Cap, and Masta Killa.
Throw rice at my feet, rose petals, Malaysia short. I smoke 2 Cuban cigars in a Newport. An ounce of the blueberry, big bottle of Tito's. Count the plaques on the wall like I sing for the Beatles.
Number 74.
I keep rice soaked in coconut milk mixed with tofu. Sit in the sun 6 hours and I charge up like Goku.
In a previous entry on my list, I mentioned that one of the reasons that particular album ranked so low was due to the letdown from being the immediate follow-up to a high-ranking album that I loved. In that case, it was the Gravediggaz sophomore release after 6 Feet Deep, and here we have RZA again, but this time as his Bobby Digital alter ego instead of the Resurrector. I loved the first Bob Digi release so much, the sequel just didn't live up to my anticipation and high expectations coming off the original. But it does still have some great bangers.
The most beloved from a region undiscovered. I've been hovered over by black buzzard walking through public. Imagine the feeling of growing up 10 children stuffed inside a shack in the project buildings.
Number 73.
Bag ain't right, can't rock this mic, I've been doing this all my life. My time invest, keep getting that check, cause you know I keep giving my best. My flow's deep and I'm from the street, I don't care about none of that stress. My mind is focused, new chain with a goldfish. Told shit, but nobody can't hold this.
Though there aren't many standout bangers on Black is Beautiful, this still is Cap's most solid all-around album from top to bottom of the past decade. Of all his albums on my list so far, I think that Black is Beautiful is the one that I could put on repeat for full playthroughs. And it may also be his single most positive album in regards to the lyrical content. So Cappadonna reminds us once again, Wu-Tang is for the children.
I'ma keep my mind, I'ma keep my life, I'ma keep my family right. All the time when I'm on the grind, never ever let them out of my sight. I'm doing my best to complete the test, my knowledge gonna show my progress. I don't eat the most and I speak the less, but everybody know me and my projects.
Number 72.
Once again, it's the super high piper. Light your lighters for the future. And I ain't talking about Makai Pfeiffer. Roll it if you got it, people. At last, the prequel and the oddball. Blower is back. You find no equals.
Almost every track features a different guest artist, including Busta Rhymes, who I personally want to team up with Meth for an entire album, and also Snoop, Missy Elliott, Ludacris, and many more. Now that sounds dope on paper, but along with the unfocused production, it actually combined to make for an incohesive album. Plus, I kinda had hoped that Tikal Zero was going to be the origin story of Johnny Blaze, taking place before 36 Chambers. Imagine if the guest vocalist on each track was a different member of the clan, and they appeared in the order that they first met Meth, culminating with a full posse cut at the end. Now I admit those were some pretty high hopes.
Kid, I got a murder rap, in my head is simple. Open up the bullets, put the lead into the pencils. And people saying, Wu gon' break up, y'all, we got your numbers. It's time you got your wake up calls.
Number 71.
proof goose pillows. I'm still alive since the last time I left. Teflon pajama set, truck armor, neck, on way ahead. Booth for 8-bomb, get drunk and paint the whole town red.
Some of the tracks on 718 are songs that didn't make it onto Ghostface's The Pretty Tony album, but they fit right in here on the only studio release by GFK's crew, Theodore Unit. Still, one of the consequences of sharing the mic with Tony Starks is that it underscores exactly why he's such an undeniable star. His lyrics, flow, and charisma just cannot be matched. The rest of the crew are still great and the beats are solid, but it also reminds that as good as those musicians are, they're just not the original Clan rapping over RZA soundscapes.
None of these rappers can touch my pen. I'm a killer, that's why I bounce back in the end. I'm not Freddie or Jason or on probation. The Lifetime Achievement Award is what I'm facing.
Number 70.
Hey yo, I'm back blowing dust off the vinyl. I got 12 more reasons to die. Snap your spinal. Son, they contracted killer with the promise of life. I hope you murder them DeLucas for killing your wife.
Though not nearly as good as the original 12 Reasons to Die, which would be near impossible since that album is almost perfect, Part 2 is still a solid continuation of the legendary lore of Tony Starks and the Ghostface Killah. And one of the best upgrades here is the inclusion of mini verses by Raekwon. But if you take out the introduction and the interludes, then the total amount of music is much less than the already short 32-minute runtime. However, that just leaves me wanting a part 3 to complete the trilogy.
Titted the Lucas down like the legend of Tone Stars. Top bricks around his ankles, have him swimming with sharks. Dynamite they safe, looking for heirlooms. It's personal, I want the keys to the tombs.
Number 69.
Gotta stay on my feet, I can't slip. Remain focused cause these vultures are lurking, praying I don't win. But they can forget about it because I ran for this. Yeah, tears of sweat, devoting my life, I bled for this.
Though the beats are far from groundbreaking, The Wild is still a solid album due to Raekwon's consistently great lyricism. And because of his timeless storytelling and naturally smooth flow, I expect that The Wild will hold up as time passes. The main reason it doesn't rank higher on my list is due to the absence of any other member of the Clan. But one thing for sure is that Raekwon hasn't lost a step and is still one of the best of all time. And I can't wait to hear Cuban Links Part 3.
From shooters in buildings to coops in the pavilions, play wealth, keep your health in your heart first. The belts that's been passed from the last car collisions and cracks. We was there rolling up, holding duffel bags, there's facts.
Number 68.
It's the sound of the slums, drama with drums. You pop shots with the corks, cause a problem for some. Got the whole city up, floating with the semi-tuck, roaming out of zone, and I'm known in the gritty cuts.
At his best, the Rebel INS is one of the greatest to ever do it. At his worst, he's still one of the greatest. And I do like The Resident Patient, it's just my least favorite from his catalog of music. A lot of time in this album is given to Deck's house gang crew, which is admirable, but that does drag it down just a little bit. Plus, there's no RZA, but at least his influence can be heard throughout. This is especially apparent on the cinematic little story track, which begins with a shout out to the Abbot by perhaps his sharpest swordsman.
Certified live, provide the dope side. Both coast slide, my vibe is so fly. Sick kids see me get big to 6 pigs. I flip wigs, let it be known the kid lives.
Number 67.
How dare you attack my system? How dare you attack my wisdom? Try to ransack my system, attacking my women and children?
Keep in mind that the RZA released 3 short Bobby Digital albums within a 9-month time period, and if you were to combine those 3 into a single album, then that might have broken into my top 10. The Pit of Snakes was the second of the 3 to be released, and it's the best of the bunch. But it's only 7 songs, so this is about as high as a 29-minute album can rank. Regardless, I also recommend the Pit of Snakes graphic novel as it's a fun companion piece to the album and contains an epic battle between Bobby Digital and the RZA.
Unlimited bliss, a love exists, a sun and star exists, the RZA raptor, he exists. Bobby Digital, do I exist? Or am I just a bunch of O's and ones, qubits and bits?
Number 66.
Fresh out the jungle where the blue boys run, we carry Wu-Godz, smoking toast from your throat like mullahs. Hitting reefer, playing my square, windbreaker jacket, holding my beer, rock and rolling my lid.
Meth, Ghost and Ray were the main ones keeping the Wu flag flying high during this otherwise lackluster period for the clan, so it's fitting that those three would come together to kill it. As soon as you hear that criminology sample and Ghost's voice, the energy goes to the roof and you know it's on. And somehow 2.5 might even be better than the original, despite Ray not having a verse. But Wu Massacre is only 30 minutes, so I need to hear a part 2 that's twice as long and still this strong.
Here's the rundown. Mustafa's getting money out in Youngstown. Get some goons together, a driver, and bring them guns down. Heard he got his hands on some bricks, plus a few pounds. Him and some wild Haitians set up shop in the View Lounge.
Number 65.
It's another spine chiller, UGodz-Illa, Masta-Killa.
I love how Made in Brooklyn begins with the next generation laying down verses. It raises my spirit every single time I start this album from the top. Then the next track keeps the good time going with a quintessential MF Doom reused beat. Soon after that, we get the always dynamic duo of Raekwon and Ghostface killing it on track 4. And not to be outdone, later we're blessed with a joint laced by both GZA and Deck. But my favorite song is Iron God Chamber, which features UGodz, Meth, and RZA.
Great mind stays divine, my hands remain deadly. We shine without the hung jury, produce light that'll travel through mics. Now as the time ripened, we took words that were nourishing, encouraging.
Number 64.
February 10th day on a Wednesday, it's like Grimm's Day. Russian hats rocking at the Benz way. That day we got guns on us, Jake's on us, playing Einstein lenses and Auroras.
Even though I like it now, Immobilarity was the first Wu-Tang album that I didn't like when it originally came out. But it also had a lot going against it at the time too. First off, it had the impossible role of being the follow-up to the legendary Purple Tape. Second, there aren't any songs with production from the RZA, and Ghostface doesn't make a single appearance. Finally, the skits are long and they fall flat. Over the years, I've grown to enjoy Immobilarity more and more, but if it was up to me, I'd still take out that intro, outro, and the skits and just focus on the music.
Me, not the ambitious one. I'd rather be there, throw a word or two in. We here, I know we worth money, yo. Just relax, start analyzing before you start adding your sales tax.
Number 63.
The man who still couldn't bend me, time couldn't end me. Even the great devil Satan had tried to befriend me.
One thing about RZA, he's gonna experiment in his lab and take risks traveling to unexplored dimensions. This is consistently true for his production, vocals, and ideas, and the results are expectedly unconventional, but also a bit schizophrenic at times too. I've always liked this first solo album by Mr. Diggs as the RZA. However, a few misses have kept me from ever truly loving it. Still, there are some moments of brilliance, such as his production on The Whistle, and also the polarizing See the Joy track with its existential celebration by a successful sperm cell.
I'm the ace in the deck, still casing the check that's filled with the taste of the lead. Fuck, the bass in the trap, the space in the back when chumps walk by and their face gets slapped.
Number 62.
Quick, toss the bomb in the garbage. Come here, shorty, here, take this revolver. You get caught, don't say it's your father's. Don't say my name, say you founded the Yonkers.
Because Set the Tone came out after Wu's 30th anniversary, this is the most recent GFK album on my list. And I absolutely love it. Every single time I listen to Ghostface Killah's, I go crazy for it from the start, and I just never want it to stop. But then suddenly it does. Seriously though, almost every single minute of this thing is straight banging. Problem is, there's only 33 of them. But it's incredible that Ghost is still putting out this kind of work into his 50s. And I can't wait to hear Supreme Clientele 2.
We can go bar for bar, tie hands together with the ox, go scar for scar. Go ahead and act up. Injuries gonna add up. Walking out the ER like a mummy all wrapped up.
Number 61.
SZA, this is called Ruckus in B minor. Ray, all those bad times is behind us.
Everybody needs to go back and reevaluate this underrated album now that some time has passed. Like many fans, I didn't really care for it when it first came out. But just like the other Wu-Tang Clan albums, they stand up to time and grow with each replay. Though A Better Tomorrow is far from their best, I bet it's better than you remember, especially if you haven't listened to it in years. Having said that, there is one song halfway through with a cartoonish chorus so ill-fitting that it almost derails the entire album. But the ill verses miraculously save it.
Precise like a shooter at the range, but I ain't trying to shoot it with you rappers, I just shoot it at your name. Y'all never should've threw me in the game. Found a new word for weed that was so me, I threw it in my name.
Number 60.
Young buck, I'm just trying to toughen you up. Yeah, can't let you hustle with us, y'all ain't struggled enough. Nah, y'all been cuddled too much, maybe mothered too much. So the burner giving out loans, here's a couple of bucks.
So many of the Meth Lab songs begin with a beat that I don't like. But then either Method Man or Street Life comes in with a verse to save it. Unfortunately, then it's back to that beat, but now with a chorus added in that I also don't like. And then back to another solid verse. So the lyricism is on point as expected, but the overall sound and feel is like the griminess has been sanitized with the polish of popularity. Still, until we get the Crystal Method with RZA production, I'll take Poppy Meth over No Meth any day. And the second half of this album is much better than the first, so stick with it. Plus, it's great hearing Street Life feature so much. Long ago, he should have been made an official member of the clan.
In the group with 9 members, I ain't trying to split this paper, but that's another issue. I ain't rapping with you haters, send you back to meet your maker, and I bet nobody miss you.
Number 59.
Yo, I was born and raised in New York City, the home of the Yankees, the Jam Master Jays and the Biggies, Ralph Ices, Jets, Mets, cops, surveillance, inside tech. Our parents is we still in the grind and direct.
This one's a little misleading because the labeling and promotion makes you think that you're getting a Ghostface and Trife team-up album. Something like Red and Meth, or with collaborative tracks like Ghost had with Ray on Iron Man and Cuban Links. But instead put it on the line as more like a Trife solo album that has some tracks featuring GFK scattered throughout. Now that doesn't make it bad, it's just that you don't really get what you may have expected. Still, there are some great tracks, with Fire being the best. Plus, we finally got that official release of The Sun, an ode that I thought was corny when I was young and blind. But now that I'm older and my eyesight is far worse, I can finally see how beautiful a song it really is.
In the kitchen with the gun steaming, 600 degrees, feeling like you in the desert with the sun beaming. You can't block me with the sun screaming. Ultraviolet red short in this days, the leather's blood streaming.
Number 58.
Monster raps I be writing, heads see me live and reported as a Bigfoot sighting. Rebel I be on dope close, boy you weed free, you don't really want no smoke.
The Odds Are Against Us marks the first, but far from last, appearance on my list by Czarface, the hip-hop superhero group team-up of Inspectah Deck with 7L and Esoteric. My only real complaint about this one, or rather the reason it's my lowest ranked Czarface, is because the Rebel INS appears on only half of the tracks. And nobody else from the clan has any vocals or production during the short 31-minute runtime either. So even though this album bangs, its overall lack of the woo keeps it from being higher on my list, where it would be above some of the other Czarface albums.
Yo, this is my world. Watch me push it to the limit like I'm Scarface. Choking that kush, sipping that liquor, love that fast life. You see me in and out of town, how I move without no sound, how I move without no crowd.
Number 57.
Classic murder, slick gun material, burnt up bodies that rot with no burial. Hammers that hardly work, go to work like a slave on a hot day. With no water, blow you for props in the cop's face. Might get locked up, Jakes that play heroes, they can get popped up.
The fifth of 5 Ghostface albums released in under 3 years, and during a period when the clan was experiencing more tragedy and troubles than triumphs. So it's wild that GFK had this many great tracks left around after dropping 24 on us earlier in the same year with the amazing Fish Scale. More Fish features a wide variety of producers, with 2 of the best songs containing beats by MF Doom, while his Mad Villain partner comes through as well. And there's plenty of guest appearances too, including Redman, Cappadonna, Trife to God, Killa, and Amy Winehouse. We even get a Back Like That remix that adds Kanye West long ago when that was still a positive thing.
But anyway, down in PF Chains, I had a meeting with this rich investor. Said he'd throw $20 million on the kid's film, only if he chose the cash. He was drunk, he was talking real fast.
Number 56.
door. Cold winds, energized rebels. All outdoors, swinging, killing floor level. Explode, cold and silence, my violence you respect. Live in the flesh, dead this mic head the best.
UGodz was the last of the 8 original clan members to get his own solo album. Even on-again, off-again brother Cappadonna got one first. And by the time of this 1999 release, RZA was stretched thin, so not as heavily involved on each individual track as he was with the other iconic debuts. Unfortunately, the result is that Golden Arms Redemption just didn't hit like those early classics. One other big factor is because the first few tracks just aren't that great, and this kind of sets a negative tone. But things do turn around, and by the midway point, it's banging. There's only a couple more missteps before it ends strong, with Knocking at Your Door maybe being the most slept-on track.
You ask for the rap, action-packed satisfaction. Snatch over batch, kiss the grand dragon. I'm trampling the max spitting hat, champion backdraft, crash landing, last man standing.
Number 55.
Henny bottles everywhere, smell like yak. Bagging crack, sitting in the kitchen, wearing my mask. Robe on, tailor-made in Italy. New Gucci denim. One slipper on Brookstone cushion in them.
One of the best things about Wu Block is hearing verses from so many different members of the clan on a single album in 2012. To give you an idea of how significant this was for the time period, on my list there are over 40 albums released in the decade since Wu Block dropped, but only 2 of them have more Wu appearances, and those 2 are A Better Tomorrow and The Saga Continues. Regardless, one of the best songs on this collaboration between Ghostface and Sheik from the Lox doesn't even include Tony Starks. Instead, we're blessed to hear GZA and Erykah Badu on the same track, which is another pairing of legends.
I got the soul of an R&B singer, Wu-Tang ruckus bringer. 36 different dialects, we call projects. My homeland security is up in the projects.
Number 54.
Drugs equal money, money equals sunny days. Tim's cut off shorts and gorgeous with a ton of haze. Bank book crook, yo, I'm looking Brooklyn style. Go ahead and juggle here, Goonies gon' book you.
When you have this many guest vocalists and different producers, you run the risk of creating an incohesive mess. But I don't believe that happens here with Fila, even though we do hear from a dynamic range of voices, including A$AP Rocky, French Montana, Busta Rhymes, 2 Chainz, Snoop Dogg, and Rick Ross. But I think it's all held together by Raekwon and his stylish flow. And I think he also did a great job as executive producer by making sure that the track order adds to the overall feel of hearing a different side of Ray as he takes us on a foreign voyage. Plus, Ghostface comes through on a couple of tracks, and when you pair him with Ray, that's always a superhero team-up.
Boo, it's tight times, let me hustle. Cause anything you want, I'm near with all muscle. Cause when I'm in the streets, we eating more ruffles. Then we can play the sweets in Vegas, all the duffels.
Number 53.
I'm from S.I., don't mistake me for the next guy. You feel me, young, and watch a vet ride.
This follow-up to the excellent Czarface meets Metalface team-up is bittersweet because it came out just a few months after the death of MF Doom. So it simultaneously was a blessing to get these tracks and hear every word, but also a sad reminder of the tragic loss of a genius gone far too soon. Regardless, the entire album bangs, but it's only 26 minutes long, and Deck appears on just 5 of the tracks, so as with The Odds Are Against Us, there's just not enough Wu in the album for me to rank it any higher. Still, I do give it my highest recommendation, so check it out if you haven't. R.I.P. MF Doom.
I've been doing this since Sinead had a groove thing. Another mood swing, touching up your boo thing. Czarface, Wu-Tang, MF Doom gang.
Number 52.
Dangerous thoughts, mind of a militia. Bottles of the 150 poured over twisters. Broken bones, the pillars, Staten Island's the illest.
This is the 3rd and lowest ranked project on my list from the trilogy of Ghostface albums over a 3-year period where we find him rapping over live instrumentation. This time with Canadian jazz band Bad Bad Not Good. I wasn't previously familiar with their work, but they're excellent. I've always liked 90s jazz rap such as with Us 3, The Roots, and a little known group out of Jacksonville, Florida called the Big Band Theory. Unfortunately, Ghostface doesn't have verses on a quarter of the songs here, and there are no appearances by any other member of the clan either. But at least MF Doom and Danny Brown each come through. I just wish that Tony Stark's was on every track.
Superstars, our ego is so top billing it. Follow me, son, and I'll show you how I'm killing it.
Number 51.
The fuse igniter, spark your lighter, vocabulary street fighter, class of the tighter, smash any biter, spit darts like a web from a spider, the black Michael Knighter.
Cappadonna has the most appearances on my list up to this point, so it's appropriate for him to get this spot at the top of the bottom half. Earth, Wind, and Fire is a double album, which is a challenge for any musician, especially a solo act, to keep interesting without becoming tiresome. But Cap manages to pull it off, though this would have been a much higher ranked album if it was just the 12 best tracks with the remaining songs saved to pad other releases. I also would have had an extended version of God Forgive Me for My Sins as the final track on the album. That song could have been like 10 minutes long with the beat on loop and Cap just saying Cap things on and on and on.
Bugle boy slacks with the hype Prince sneaker. Now I got hits that be coming out your speaker. Bum fly every day, my whole team geek up. Never be quiet, yo, we always gonna speak up.